another level. Let's get it. Run it up. Check the scope. Money talk, money mo. Yeah. Main crew say they weed it. Kicking down the door. Run it up. Check the scope. Money talk, money mo. What? Main crew say they weed it. Kicking down the door. Let's go. And it's just the whole lane when I'm driving the machine.
What is going on? Archie Goodwin just missed 2 free throws that could have ended this thing, but it's all good. Elam Ending is 1 point away. La Familia 1 single point away from getting to the TBT final. How about it? What's up, Drew?
What's going on, man? Yeah, this is, in my head, I'm like, this is a foreshadow of the Champions Classic. Kentucky over Kansas, but it's been a dominating game. I know we'll get into a little game recap and stuff, but it's been a fun game. And all they need is 1 more point, so hopefully they get it soon. Let's quit dragging this game on.
Kansas just scored 63-76. Yet Memorial has been rocking. You can feel the tension right now. We know it would be an absolute miracle for them to come back, but unfortunately, the free throw bugaboo has killed Archie for. It's really been the only down. It's only been the downfall, only negative thing out of his game, really, this whole tournament.
Yeah, it definitely has. Free throws are weird when you get in these spots, especially when you need to make one, and there's like no time involved. The Elam ending, it makes things weird, but get the ball to Archie and get out of the way and go let him score, get a bucket.
Here we go. There it is. Boom.
Oh, that was pretty. Oh, that was pretty.
Archie Goodwin hits it on a fadeaway.
He's turned up, too. That was awesome.
To the final. We find out who we're playing tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I believe so. It'll be whoever Davis Steele and the Mecca is.
You know anything about him?
I know nothing. Gonna have to do some research, though.
Yeah, leave that to old John Hood. First off, let's do this. We got some folks in the comments. We'll line them up. Yes, Kentucky Glazer. He's in the comments. They just won. So got a little, I wouldn't say got hairy, but, they got a little closer than they need to be. But going back to what I was saying, let's give 20 some credit. Actually, no, let's give 20 a lot of credit because he put this team together. We were excited. Archie coming back. And then, we had Quade and Travis and some other folks we were excited to see play kind of bail on us. They don't show up. Archie doesn't show up the first 2 games. And he's taking a lot of face punches online about how, is he the right guy for the job? Can he, is he the one that should help sustain La Familia in this whole TBT process as TBT is seemingly growing? And he gets Archie there. Archie has played his ass off. He gets John Hood, who John Hood has coached his ass off. And now we are in the championship, the final. We've gotten the furthest that we've gotten since La Familia has been a thing in TBT. And, John Hood said in his press conference, I think it was after the Ville game in Freedom, when we kind of got smacked around. He was like, listen, I know 20 is out here working 11 months out of the year to put this squad together. This really ain't on him. Like, trust him, trust what he's doing. And shout out. Just shout out to bring this whole thing, giving us basketball, Kentucky basketball in July that seems meaningful, right? And now we're in the finals. We're back to like winning basketball in July. To me, Drew, if you remember, this feels like the Global Jam when we took the gold in that. That was fun to do. And now we're back in that same kind of environment. This time we're doing it in front of a home crowd, though.
100%. Yeah, including myself, I put a tweet. I was on vacation and wasn't really fully tapped in, but after the Louisville game when they got smacked, I put a tweet out myself that was like, I kind of the vibes of this thing are kind of falling away. It seems like year one was so cool. It was so much fun. We had all these guys back. And then last year kind of regressed a little bit. And then this year, I know the format changed a little bit. They got smacked against Louisville. Archie wasn't there. You look at it, number one, if Archie never shows up, who knows how far. I mean, this La Familia team might have lost that game 3. So credit to Archie for showing up, but it is big. And I think now that you see, they're in the championship now. I don't know what the deal is with the two teams that they might face. We'll have to figure that out. But if they were to win this thing, I think that's a huge draw to what you were mentioning potentially in the future of a lot of guys wanting to be involved, because you look at it, this is probably, in my opinion, the worst TBT team that Kentucky's put out there. I guess La Familia, when they're going to the championship, there's a whole, pool of players that have yet to play for La Familia or did, has played and not on this year's team. So if they're able to win this thing, it's kind of like what we talk about with coaches. Like if they win, kind of get that recruiting momentum. If La Familia can win this opens up a whole avenue for potential years. If this thing keeps rolling at the level it is, that I'm sure a lot of guys will want to be a part of, because look, you can't turn down the opportunity to win $2 million, obviously split between, everybody on the team, coaching staff, those things. So, this is a big deal for not just, Kentucky fans. Obviously we enjoy it. We root for our guys, former guys to come back and win, but also for some of these guys, because let's call a spade a spade. These guys aren't NBA All-Stars getting paid, $5 million plus, some $40 million plus salaries. So, these are huge paychecks to these guys. And the more guys we can get coming back to Lexington and being involved, it's a huge thing. So good on Twanny, good on the players, good on Archie for showing up and putting the team on his back. Without him, who knows where this team would be. So all in all, it was bad vibes to start, but it's good vibes now. Let's go win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let me ask you something. You said worst team in the now third year of us doing this thing. You mean like as far as Kentucky guys that we know and, I feel like a draw to? Because admittedly, like Archie had his struggles, Khalil had his struggles. Now Willie's on this team, Andrew's on this team. But then we do have a lot, and we were leaning on them, and they were big, especially Coffee. We're leaning on our what they call the portal guys, right? So is that what you mean by like worst team as far as like the draw for Kentucky fans, or do you mean talent wise?
I think, I don't know, like year one talent wise was good. You had both the twins. Willie was obviously 2 years younger. Obviously, this is the last time he's going to play basketball. Maybe a little bit of both, but more so probably leaning to the side of like less Kentucky type draw of players. But you look at it, if everybody would have showed up who was, scheduled to be on this team, it probably would have been the best. When you factor in like Quade Green, obviously the Kirk Creases situation was different, but he's young, which that can help this team a ton when you have some of the older guys. Obviously, it'd be nice to have like Aaron Harrison when Andrew's there and stuff, but it's not any worse than what it, I guess, has been. But you've had some dudes like Nate Sestina was a dude, and he was a problem in the TBT. Obviously, last year you had Archie, who was great. He's great this year. Just kind of a combination of a lot of things. I think it's the worst, but that doesn't mean that they're bad by any means. And hell, it's worked out. Like you mentioned, the portal guys, some of those guys have had massive impacts on this team, which is, some of those guys are the reasons that this team is going to the championship.
Yeah, they've been great for this team. I was, McNeil had a good game one. He's kind of been silent, but he's got some good buckets. This team, as we've gotten further on in the tournament, seemingly the players have found what their roles are, and they're thriving in those roles, right? And what we are gonna like offensively, we have our struggles for sure, but the defense and how Hoodie has, got them to. Again, you're talking about this. This is a TBT, summer tournament. Now, huge prize money, but Archie gets here and kind of revitalizes the team, and then Hoodie gets him to buy in on the defensive side of the ball, which you wouldn't expect in a tournament like this. Everybody wants to just go get buckets, right? And instead, they're like, okay, what do we got to do to win? And in the last 2 games, and even in a third game against DeVille, it's been on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, they're really impressive defensively. They get in the passing lanes. They're athletic. They're aggressive defensively. You saw it tonight multiple times. They jumped the passing lanes, got out in transition. That stuff's huge. And, the thing about this team is, for the most part, they're pretty athletic, and they're switching a lot. They're being versatile defensively. They're mixing up certain coverages and stuff. Willie, regardless of his age and those things, he's 7 feet tall. He's still athletic. He's guarded guards his entire life. So they're impressive defensively and offensively. Like, to me, when you're not a great offensive team, the best offense you can create is what you do on defense by turnovers, steals, transition. It kind of similar to what Kentucky last year was like. It took an Otega-Oweh to jump in a passing lane and get a steal or get out in transition, or you see it now. Otega did it last year when the offense was bad, get into isolation, and now Archie Goodwin is kind of doing that for this TBT team. So the defense is impressive, and then offensively at times when they struggle, they can still find ways to manufacture some buckets, which is big for the coaching. That stands out to me because that's certain defensive calls, that's certain defensive schemes, certain defensive principles that they have. So, it's pretty impressive what they're doing, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, I agree, man. As I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to get us on here here we go. Oh, that's a little bit, man, it might be a little too close. There we go. What I love the most about this too is Willie Cauley-Stein has been such a great ambassador for Kentucky basketball, for Kentucky, the university as a whole. He's always coming back. He's going to retire. He wants to be in Lexington. He works with local brands, State Line. He works with he's always giving back to the community, doing his outreach. And what an ending to his basketball career that was unfortunately, cut short on him twice to come back here, beat Syracuse, 1996 recap, championship rematch, then beat Kansas 2012 championship rematch, and then go and get a title, TBT title, but a title nonetheless, right? Yeah. That would be a great way for him to come back and close out his career. I'm really hoping that for him. Yes, the same can be said with Andrew Harrison. And I think he's also been a great alumni and a great ambassador for the program. But Willie has really been that staple. And I would love to see him get the recognition. And the fact that he gets to do it in front of Kentucky fans is huge too.
100%. Yeah. And you mentioned what he's doing with the brands, but also like when he's back, he's doing a lot of media stuff. I know he's gone on KSR before, some other shows, always talking positive about Kentucky. Talks about Mark Pope and the team that they have now, which is great. He's from Kansas too. I don't remember the exact recruiting story. I know he's talked about it before. But I think he thought he was going to Kansas, and then Coach Cal came and swooped him. So like you said, to knock Kansas off today as hometown team is pretty cool. But yeah, and then, just in general, to close it out and get one final decent, paycheck to close it all out in your basketball career too would be a nice thing. So, hopefully these guys bring it. If they played the way that they did tonight, I think they should win it. Memorial is going to be rocking again for the championship. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we got Sunday at 2:00. Is that when the game is set?
I believe so. It was either 1:00 or 2. I can't remember. I'll figure it out right now.
I mentioned I am so tired of that drive.
1:00, 1:00 Eastern time.
So let's do the math. So if I left on Saturday, you get there, who cares, whenever. And then game starts at 1, ends at 3, 3:30, assuming we win the championship. I'm there for a while celebrating. So say I leave at 6. What's 8 hours on that? That's gonna be tough.
Be about
we might have to do it.
2 a.m.
Yeah, about 2 a.m. Then get up and hit the grind for a Monday morning.
Yeah. They always say Monday's the worst day of the week. That would make it 10 times worse. But
yeah, maybe I just don't even sleep. But if we now, that would suck if I do all that and we lose. But let's not even put that out there. But for a title,
now
banner number one, TBT banner number one.
Yeah, it might be worth it.
But so of the non-Kentucky guys, what TBT calls the transfer portal, who do you think has had the biggest impact to get us to this final?
Ooh, I think they're all unique. I don't know about one. Like I love watching Chris Coffey play. Like dude's a junkyard dog out there. McNeil, obviously he's a shooter. I don't know. Like, I think probably, like, to me, maybe Chris Coffey, just because of the way that he plays and that junkyard dog. Like, you have Andrew Harrison, you have Archie in the backcourt. Those guys are going to do their things. You have Willie. I know there's been some injuries and stuff, but, when you're kind of in a setting like this, I think players like, Chris Coffey, they make a huge impact because of that, relentless effort and just playing hard, rebounds, defense. So I think he's had a huge impact on this team, and I love watching. I never played that way, but I love watching players, play like that because I would never have the energy or the, constant effort to play that way. So I think he's had a huge impact on this team.
Yeah, Coffey and Morcell, I think, are the two ones, and both of them they're on the defensive side, and then really in the game against Boeheim's Army, the last game, Andrew didn't play the whole second half, so now you got to have rely on those two to come in and fill a key guard role, and Archie is playing a lot of the one balls in his hands a lot, but you still have to be able to have a guy who can set him up at times. And again, on the defensive side, I think both of them, I would agree, Coffey, and then I would give Morcell an honorable mention for what he's done so far. But and Coffey's from Louisville, right?
Yeah, he played at Georgetown College, I believe, as well. So he's familiar with the area and stuff.
So as we move into Sunday, we'll see who we're going to play. It was in the comments before that. So Bourbon is talking. Mecca plays a lot like the Ville. So Willie's huge, right? A big man down there. He can stay healthy. Archie continue to play like he's playing, and then you have, one of Andrew Harrison's gonna. He hasn't had a big game, but he's been good in key moments. And he seemingly is nursing that back injury. But if you have one of Andrew Harrison, Coffey, even like a McNeil kind of step up and go off, this is a tough team, especially when we're up until the Elam ending, only allowing 40, 50 points a game.
Yeah, and I'll say this as well. I would be shocked if we don't see. I'm not saying they're going to be in their primes like when they were at Kentucky, but I would be shocked if we don't see the best versions of Willie Cauley-Stein, Andrew Harrison, some of these older guys like, not that they've been kind of holding back. I wouldn't say that, but maybe just more so like the kind of carefree mentality every once in a while throughout the game. I don't think we're going to see that much in this game. I think now that they're in the championship, they've made it. Willie Cauley-Stein, last basketball game of all time. Like, I would be shocked if these guys don't leave everything out there possible. Number one, to win it for Big Blue Nation in Kentucky and doing it at home in Memorial. But number two, just because you got money on the line. And now the other team, don't get me wrong, they're going to show up and they're going to do the same thing. But I think this Kentucky team's going to be really ready to go. And they're playing the thing that I love the most about it with La Familia is these guys are playing for more than just the money. And I think you can realize that when you watch it with Archie, Khalil Whitney, Willie, Andrew Harrison. Like, these guys at times when things go wrong, they kind of bond together, and you can kind of see it in their faces and the way that they play. They're like, oh shit, like we need to we need to lock in and do this because, Big Blue Nation and the fans and, wearing Kentucky on our chest, like they take pride in that stuff. So that's what I feel like, we're going to see the best version of themselves on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Archie has talked about it. Khalil has talked about it. Like, and I don't think it's like hyperbole. I don't think it's, it might be dramatized a little bit because it's in the moment. But when they're talking about like their second chance at playing in front of BBN and kind of feeling that love and their second chance of holding some sort of legacy with Kentucky basketball fans, I think all of that is very genuine. And again, now that they're there, right? Like it might be just words, hey, I'm trying to appease the fan base. I'm in a press conference, like we won, I'm riding high, but now you've done it so many times and you've gotten to the finals. I agree. Like everybody's going to give their best effort. The opponent's going to do the same as well. But you know what they don't have, which most people in college basketball don't have? They don't have BBN. They don't have Kentucky fans. I mean, look at that place was rocking tonight on a Wednesday evening. Everybody's for a July basketball game, TBT, just to get us to the finals. Think about what it's going to be like on Sunday, right? Because it's a couple things. There's nothing else going on. So like Kentucky fans, a lot of folks are still like on summer break. And it's not expensive. Like your average Kentucky fan can get to Memorial and watch this, and there's not a bad seat in the house. So like you can get in the building and celebrate. You don't have to break the bank. You're not doing that for any other Kentucky basketball final, right? You're not doing this for any marquee game in Rupp Arena. You get to see Kentucky basketball for a reasonable price, potentially go win a championship. Like, so that place is going to be packed. It's going to be rocking. They're going to carry, even when, if there's some doubt creeping in, there's some fatigue from these guys, playing so many games in a short amount of time. Our fans, BBN is going to carry this team. And ultimately, like it did in Louisville, like it did, the closing minutes against Syracuse, it's just it's gonna carry us. I believe it, and I would be shocked if we didn't hold up that TBT championship and a $2 million check on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree, and I think too, like when you mentioned the fans, and I feel it, like just me personally, like I love our current team. I love our current team damn near every year. I root like crazy for those guys, but it always hits a little. I don't know if it's like harder or different, whatever it is, but there's a different kind of feel when you watch and cheer on these guys than you do like during the normal Kentucky basketball season. Like for me personally, some of my earliest memories as a Kentucky fan as a kid was the Harrison twins and Willie Cauley-Stein and like Archie Goodwin and with the Nerlens Noel team and some of those early teams. That's when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old as a Kentucky fan. And, now I'm 24 years old and I have Zoom Diallo, Milan Momcilovic and Malachi Marino and those things. But I always get those, there's a different kind of feel when I'm rooting on those guys because it's like 10 years later, it's kind of a weird dynamic. And I think all of BBN, even older people, that were rooting for the, teams in the 90s and the 80s and stuff. I think they feel a certain type of way about the older guys coming back too. It's different. And I think the crowd shows that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Rando, Oscar, they're, folks that have had massive impacts on Kentucky basketball showing up to support these guys. And you got the current team there supporting these guys every single home game. They're there. They're, I got that video that I sent out. Mason's out there chirping Mario Chalmers, providing a little halftime show, dropping buckets, like, and they're engaged. I watched him in the first game. I got to be there against Deville, and they were up on the sidelines watching that Elam inning, cheering like we were. Like the anxiety was there. They're like, how are we going to close this thing out? Louisville's making a run. And then when they hit that last bucket, they celebrated just like the rest of the fans. Like there's buy-in from everybody. And I think that's huge. And I don't know if they're told they have to be there, or if they're doing it because they want to be there. But the fact that they're there and they're investing their time and they're like passionate about it, just like we are, like that's big too. And for some of the, we live in an age now where we're excited about guys who Pope retained, Cam, Bray, Malachi, but we're also excited about these big transfer portal names, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Zoom, Momcilovic, Alex, you got Uzman, Frank the Tank, like all these guys that are coming in, and they're there and they're seeing, I keep saying it, but in a July basketball game for TBT tournament, this fan base losing its mind. So like that's just going to set them up going into the season too, right? Of like, this is what we got behind us. Like nowhere that I've played basketball, even at the highest level, have I had something like this supporting me going into the season. Kind of setting that expectation, that bar a little bit higher, and it's real now, right? They get an early view of what the season's going to be like. I think that's important as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think you know what you get when you sign up with Kentucky, right? Like I'm sure all these guys, when they commit, they know, okay, this is kind of what Kentucky is, all those things. But for them to kind of get that early introduction as well of like, look, let's just call it what it is too. The TBT's been crazy, but it's probably like 25% of what they'll experience throughout the regular season and some big games in Rep Arena. But for them to kind of get that early, just fan interactions and seeing the crowd absolutely pop with the Go Big Blue chants and the CATS chants and all those things, it's a good introduction for them. And I remember in year one with Pope, which was year one of the TBT, remember he took the team to Freedom Hall for the Kentucky-Louisville game. They sat up in that suite and he said, like, look, this, none of us, I haven't coached a game here. None of you guys have played a game here, but you guys, I think he said something along the lines of like, I know what it is and I'm the coach here, but you guys don't know what it is as a team. And I remember some of them talking about, Kobe Brea, I think mentioned afterwards, like I knew Kentucky was big, but now I really know, what Kentucky basketball means and those things. So it's a good interaction of not, they get to see the crowd. They get to see how crazy we are. And, they get to see like how much it really matters to people, to the community, to students, to the older generation, to the donors, to the former players. Like that's what Kentucky basketball is. And until you experience it, you really don't know what it is. I guess as a player, especially coming from the portal when you're used to your previous school's traditions and, the uniqueness at those schools. So I think it's a big deal. And then especially for a guy like Usman Njai, who's overseas kid, I know they got some crazy crowds over there, but, who knows if he's ever seen anything like Kentucky. So regardless if it might not be at that level, it's a good interaction to the current team of like, okay, hey, this is a little appetizer and just wait till you're out there on the floor because it's going to be even crazier.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I hope we can close this thing out. You talk about the presence, the new AD, Batman's out there courtside going in, mingling with the fans. Like it's been a who's who of Kentucky basketball, Kentucky athletics, donors, like everybody's out there to support this thing. So hell, we're there. Let's just go ahead and close this out.
Yeah.
But so what do you feel right now with the current roster? We'll kind of transition. We were just talking about them sitting courtside. We've seen some practice clips come out. So let's talk about them summer camp or, their practices are winding down and, we're really going to start focusing in on the collective and who's gonna play, the starting five rotation, getting all that stuff figured out. But how do you feel about what you're seeing right now, what you're hearing from the current team? Got folks like KSR and Dylan Ballard and Tristan putting some stuff out there. How are you feeling about the squad so far?
Yeah, I feel good about the team, really. When the roster, Rando, like early in the offseason, I was like, what in the world's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I came around to when the roster, I guess the 14th roster right now, which is, the roster, I was still a little bit hesitant in a way. After kind of seeing some of the clips, which I try not to overreact about the clips, but there's certain things that I look at and I'm like, okay, I love that. And then some of the scuttlebutt around the team, I feel good about it. Am I going to pencil them into a Final Four? Probably not right now, at least. But I think this team's proven and showing from what we're hearing, from what we're seeing and stuff, that like this team's got a squad. Kentucky's going to be another good team. It's just a matter of, I think we know what the talent is, and we could talk about it all we want, but there's still a lot of question marks within some of these guys on the team. It's just a matter of like going through the summer practices, getting better. And then by the time this team gets back in a couple months and really starts focusing on the year, like, can they take another level? Some of these players, I love what I've heard from Coach Pope when talking about Zoom Diallo, of just like, he was sick the other day in practice and had one of the best practices, was fully engaged, full energy. I love hearing that because he's been one of my personal kind of question marks as far as like PG1 because of some of the past at Washington. But I love hearing that. I love all the buzz around Alex Wilkins. Obviously, unfortunate. We talked to Greg Williams a couple months ago, and he, when he said I don't know if Kim will ever be back to 100%. That kind of raised some question marks. So we talked about a little behind the scenes, and then come to find out Kim had to have another foot surgery, which is unfortunate. But Coach Pope seems optimistic that he might be back for the season, beginning of the season or something. So hopefully he is, because Rando, we talk about it all the time, but Cam Williams is one of the, to me, same with Braden Hawthorne. They're two of the biggest, kind of, to me, ceiling raisers of this team, because they have the size, they have the athleticism, they have the versatility, they have the length. If those two guys can develop and be better, then, can be better than what he was last year, and Braden Hawthorne be what we think he can be, then that completely changes this Kentucky team.
All right, so that's a good transition. So I have some Cam Williams injury update news. So let's go back to last season. Apparently, there is kind of two tracks you can take with this Jones fracture. One is a track that allows you to kind of rush back and have a chance to play. And there's another track where it's a longer recovery, kind of a smarter recovery. And it was decided largely by Cam that he wanted to try to take the fast track so he could get back and play. He knew where the squad was. Postseason was going to happen, maybe not at the ceiling and the seating that we originally thought it was going to be. So he does that. Has the surgery. He's off it for 2 weeks, completely boot for 2 weeks, and then he can start moving it around and working back to get on the court. He does get on the court. He plays for us. But then you mentioned that there was some uncomfortability still lingering in that foot. And that was part of it because he kind of rushed it back. There was some regression in the foot. And there was the decision back around April timeframe to have another surgery. This one where, since they had the time, they could take the long approach. So what the surgery entailed was taking a graft from the hip, putting it in the foot with the screw, and letting the bone heal around the screw with that graft. What that does is allows it to actually, I was told that it was done by someone who's a specialist and has done this for dudes who are playing in the NBA. And that surgery will make it stronger than what it was before. So the graft and the healing and the screw I would describe similar to like when you break a collarbone, right? They reset it, they screw it back together. It builds back and it's stronger than it was before, and it's almost impossible to break your collarbone twice, right? So now he's had this foot surgery, and they're going to take the long track. So it's going to be basically doubled everything that he did last season in order to get back. They're going to double that recovery process. So 4 weeks off it completely. You've seen him on the scooter. He'll be 4 weeks ish in a boot, followed by a cast that has like a carbon fiber, like steel kind of deal on it, so that he can walk on it, but it won't flex. And The recovery process will take him till about September to where he can start conditioning again. So there is not a concern about any sort of missing time in the season. Now, hearing that, I will say there's probably some concern about game shape and flow and rhythm and where you find your spot, because I think everybody from who I was talking to believed Cam was going to be pretty much solidified in that starting role, in that 2-3 spot. So that might give some folks other opportunities as he gets back into it. But right now, I would say expectation is October. He's back ready to rock. And all of those things that we heard about of like, is he going to be 100%? I don't know. There's still some uncomfortability, after based off how he went about it the first time. I don't think he'll ever be right again. Those worries just go away. So this was a long-term decision. When we had time, there was no reason to rush back for it. Had the surgery in April, not playing ball until, September, October timeframe where we got to worry about it. And then, we got some big matchups, but really SEC play is what we're focused on. Late December, Louisville, January SEC play, and then going into the postseason. So long-term play for health of this season, and then long-term play for what the goal is of being an 3-a-D guy in the NBA, because he is attractive to NBA folks. Long body or tall, long wingspan, can shoot the hell out of the rock, and can play great defense. So this is one of those things where, yes, it sucks. We saw that and heard that he got the surgery. It had happened long before Pope revealed it to us, but now you have the details of what went into the surgery, why the surgery happened, and I don't think there's any reason to fear him missing an extended time at the beginning of the season, or is this going to be a problem where he re-injures it? This second surgery will kind of take that away from what the doctors are telling everybody.
Yeah, which is good to hear, and you hate injuries, and then you hate when you try to get it fixed, and then more lingering things happen. So obviously that's good to hear that obviously a cleanup surgery happened and expected to be back. Hopefully not miss any time. Obviously setbacks can happen. Hopefully they don't happen. Getting him back, the sucky part is just for Cam in general, because he's going to miss a lot of the kind of developmental phases of the offseason and installation, competitiveness when they're trying to figure out rotations. And obviously it helps in the situation he's in that he's a returner. So he kind of already knows what to expect a good chunk of it. But yeah, the worst part is for Kentucky's team, because obviously they're going to be competing a lot in that time frame, and a lot of 5-on-5, a lot of trying to figure out rotations, a lot of just all types of things, and not having Cam there does suck. But biggest thing is health. Hopefully everything goes smooth. He's back. And then, he has the season that we all expect him to, which is to have a big leap from last year, and I think be the starting 3 on this Kentucky team potentially, or be a high minute, very impactful 6th man off the bench, depending on what kind of angle Mark Pope wants to go for the starting 5.
Yeah. So looking at the schedule, just pulled it up. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right one. You get 26, 27. So I said September, October. It's really October, November. So you got your Little Rock exhibition. You got Manhattan, November 3rd, JMU, November 6th, the big one, November 10th. So if he's back September and they think he's going to be full speed October, then by November, hopefully he's got that figured out. I understand what you're saying as far as like competition and meshing. I think that's big with the current roster. But as far as like the Pope-isms and knowing the offense and knowing the expectations, been there a year, so I think that's going to be okay. But yeah, kind of how he fits in. The other thing that Cam had discovered, and the reason why he got more minutes and was playing better and was more relied upon by Pope, i.e. Bellarmine, was he understood his role better, right? When Pope says something like, Cam, every time you touch the ball, I want you to shoot it. and he doesn't do the thing, and you have someone like Colin Chandler who is doing the thing, and every time he touches the ball, he's shooting it. And Cam deferring to guys like Ortega, who was the team. That was Ortega's team last year, or a guy like Zell, who was a national champion who transferred over. Like I think he's figured that out, right? Okay, like I'm here to play a game. Like the passing of the torch is to, we would say to big names like Malachi, who's coming back, who's an NBA prospect, first-round prospect, Milan, who's potentially a first-round prospect, $6 million man, right? But there's also these dudes that Pope's going to rely on, like Cam, who, hey, this is your role, man. If you're going to defer, then you're going to lose minutes. If you're going to accept your role and kind of be one of the alphas on this team, then you're gonna prosper in my vision of why I went and got you, why he was the first dude we got in Pope's second season at a transfer portal, right? So I think he understands that now, and there's going to be less deferring and more like, okay, I'm here to take over and play some ball, and be more of a alpha dominant presence on the court.
Yeah,
so I think all those things are going to help him.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for Cam or anything like that, but we'll just be honest too. Like he transferred up as a sophomore last year from Tulane, and let's just call it what it is. It can be kind of a brightening lights of being at a different stage, a different level. Obviously, his role last year at Kentucky was a lot different than what his role was at Tulane, and sometimes you just have that adjustment period. And he started the year slow, and then he got going, and then obviously he had the huge Bellarmine game. And I remember the game after that, Kentucky opened, I think it was like 2 weeks later, an SEC opener on the road against Alabama, and I'm not even sure he even logged a single minute in that game, which was strange. But, with Cam in general, I think last year there was so much weirdness from the roster because of injuries, because of movement. I think JQ coming back when he did probably affected Cam some, because we talked about it with Mr. Williams. Like Mark Pope kind of looked at Cam as being a 4 last year, and Cam really didn't see himself as a 4. He can do it, but he's more.
And neither did Greg.
No,
he was not happy about that.
Yeah, definitely not. So, I think there was all these weird things, with Cam, and I think, like you said, his role on Kentucky is to be an elite defender. He's a great rebounder for his size, and to be a 3-and-D guy, which is, when you're open, catch it and shoot it. And you can go back and watch the SEC championships, sure, or the SEC tournament. Sure, he was a little bit trigger shy, but multiple times, I remember the 3 he hit against LSU, he caught that thing from 25, 30 feet out, no hesitation, and let it go, and it was cash money. So, I think as the year went on, when he got back from injury, he learned it a little bit. But I think we'll see a completely different version, like you said, at Cam. I know you have more, intel on that than I would. But I think just basketball-wise, if kind of the player Cam is and kind of the way that Coach Pope wants to play, and then just basketball in general, I think you could kind of see – I think Cam Williams will be a completely different player than what we saw last year. Hopefully he's healthy, get some time to, get the rust knocked off his shoes and get into the kind of flow that he needs for the season. And then I think he's going to have a tremendous year.
Yeah. And it's funny. The concern is not the right word, but it's the word I have at the moment. So that's what I'll use. But there is like this question mark, I guess, is the better way of. Pope's got so many ways to use this team and take this roster that they're like, how is he going to do it? I think there's a lot of curiosity around, like, and this is internal to the, this is a thought coming from people who are very close to the program and are invested for very important reasons, right? Like, how is he going to, use these teams, or how's he going to use this team in positions and what roles and what's the rotation going to look like? This team is more complete than last year's team. It's not like it's not the flashy portal gets, and it wasn't early success like it was, and national media attention isn't on us like it was last year. But when you talk about a well-rounded basketball team with experience from the portal, with experience returning. This team is more complete than what we had last year, right?
Well, and
I talked
Rando,
about
this. You mentioned versatility as far as the team goes. Think of all the versatile players that this team has. Like a guy that doesn't get talked about a lot, but like Jerome Morton. Like, is he a 1? Is he a 2? Is he going to be a backup point guard? Is he going to be a defensive stopper? Is he going to be an off-ball shooter? Alex Wilkins, will Pope just put him at the 2 spot and just let him go be a scorer? Or is he going to ask him to kind of be that, like what we saw from Emmanuel quickly, of like some point guard role, some scoring role? Justin McBride, where do you put him? Do you put him at the 3 maybe? Do you put him at the 4? Usman Njai, is he a 4? Could he play minutes at the 5? Milan Momcilovic, is he a 2 in some lineups? Is he a 3? Is he a 4? Cam Williams, Braden Hawthorne, size-wise and things, they could play the 2 through the 4, but strength-wise, can they? So the team is super versatile. Pope has a ton of decisions in that way, but also just the individual players. A lot of these guys, some of them could be like 3 different kind of, factors or roles, or just – the style of play. It's going to be very interesting to see. And I think it'll change as the season goes on. Obviously, you'll kind of figure it out and kind of get the sense for each player and how they fit off of each other. But, this is why Pope gets paid the big bucks. You got all these different things. You got all these toys, now figure out how to play with them and put it in a puzzle piece.
And the length is something that has been brought up by multiple people. Khalil Whitney, he talked about how long the team was. He brought up Braden Hawthorne, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think that's a massive part of it, like the size and length of this squad. When you look at the teams that were in the Final Four last year, even if our team was healthy, I will unfortunately have to say that our squad would not have been able to compete with any of those Final Four teams, especially a Michigan, who was just massive. Like it looked like a different league that they were playing in compared to, some of the, we had bigger guys, but collectively as a team, we weren't very big. I think we were relying on some shiftiness, and then all of a sudden J-Lo goes down and we didn't have a ball handler. That is my biggest piece of my argument on why this team's more complete. Because, yes, we have length, and I think that's massive, both in the literal term and then also just in terms of, basketball. But having 4 or more legitimate ball handlers on this team is, I think, the biggest difference for me. And why I think Pope did such a great job in this off season, kind of putting this team together. Pope and Mo Williams, right? So we have Zoom. I would presume he's going to be the starting point guard. You talk about Alex, like shifty, already getting SGA vibes in comparisons, which it seems crazy, but why not? You have Jerome Morton, who can handle the rock. You got Mason Williams, who, from what I'm hearing, is probably going to get opportunities early, especially in some of these games, the exhibition, and some of these tune-up games. Like, he is impressing folks. He is one of the ones on the squad who isn't long, 6'1", 6'2", but he's
built. He's built.
I think he's pushing 210.
Yeah, and he's a big boy.
Drew, I'm 6'2", 212.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would consider myself a larger human being.
Yeah, he's he's 6'1", 6'2". If he's 210, I mean,
and he's 18? He's 17, 18 years old?
Yeah.
That's he's insane.
And even a guy like him, you could throw him in there for 5 to 6 minutes and say, pick up full court, use your strength, use your size, use your athleticism, hell, use your youth. Like, go be a young freshman out there and go bully somebody in the front court, try to get some steals and stuff, So like that's another piece of what can happen. But keep going. But I think Mason Williams is definitely going to be a lot better than probably what people expect.
I think year 2 Mason Williams is going to be the breakout. But he's already impressing, both with his shooting ability, his ball handling, and his defense. So as someone who's not one of the longer guys, his size, right? No one is able to just kind of muscle him, push him around, get away. There's no just beating him off the dribble because you can't lean into him. He's going to lean back on you. He is impressing, and I think he's going to get some minutes early on in some of these two games. I believe that fades as we get into it, unless he just kind of goes crazy and breaks out. But because of the other folks we have on this team, he probably just kind of is there in more of a learning capacity role. Maybe get some minutes in relief when we get in some foul trouble, or knock on wood, injuries. We will for sure have some sort of roster unfortunate thing happen for a short amount of time. Every basketball team does throughout the 30, maybe 40 game season. But I think he's going to be impressive. But going back to what I was saying, like having those multiple ball handlers on the team, which was the biggest issue last year. When J-Lo went down, there was no one who could really run the offense. Get away from the whole, like, people being frustrated with setting up your offense for a left-handed point guard, whether that was just a Popeism, similar to like Trent Noah being the best defender on the team so far. Like, he's just kind of playing with fans at this point. But the reality was J-Lo was the only true ball handler on the team last year. So now we have multiple of those, potentially times 4 on top of – you got 4 ball on top of Braden can handle it for a tall guard wing. So can Cam, like
McBride.
McBride. He showed the ability to handle the rock too. So it's definitely versatile. That was a great word to use. How Pope employs them is going to be, again, on him. And it's funny that is the kind of concern. Is like, okay, we got all these sweet pieces we're excited about, but like, how do you get them to mesh? And the last thing I'll say about Pope in going this season, there has been a transition in how he's conducting some of these practices.
Mm-hmm.
There's a competitive aspect to it, which was there last year. He wanted them to compete, but there's also, I think, more of a mesh process early in the summer where it's not so much like I'm splitting up my best on best and letting them compete against each other. He's doing that, but also let me get who I think my starters are going to be playing together. And then, subbing out and whatnot, just so we can kind of get a feel of how this is going. Because clearly, locker room issues aside, whether you believe that are true, there was a disconnect on the court. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, whether it was lack of practice time playing together, or if it just the boys weren't tight, or whatever it was, there was definitely a disconnect at times on the court. I think we're trying to make sure we get away from that. So the versatility is going to help, but also how we're practicing is going to be big. And Otis, I'll talk about this. Think about just Drew. Think about this from a basketball standpoint. You played the game for a long time. You are prepping for Kentucky, and Milan is the dude that you're circling 14 times, right, on the scouting report. But then you're like, well, shit, we got Cam on the other wing. We got Braden, say he is a thing, out there as well. We got McBride. You have what do you think at worst Milan is? 45% three-point shooter next year at worst?
Yeah, probably.
What would you say Cam is at worst? 40%?
38, 40%, yeah.
McBride, wasn't he a 38, 40% guy?
Yeah, 35 to 40% at worst.
Braden, 35, 40%?
Yeah. Which is not bad, by the way.
No, like, and we're saying like at worst, like Milan could have another 50% season again, like at worst. So you're just like, what do you do when you're preparing for this? Oh, not to mention, hell, what if it's Reese Potter who gets a spell? Now you got to play like a true 5 out, right? Yeah. He could be serviceable at 35% from 3. Like, trying to prepare for this team is going to be a nightmare, which is, to Otis's point, is going to make Milan 10x deadlier than he was for Iowa State, because Jefferson was great and there were some pieces around him. But when you have 4 other dudes who potentially shoot the ball, or at least 3 on the court. It's not going to be shout out LT for when he was on the show. It's not just going to be face guarding this dude and you can do that, and then other dudes are going to kill you, and then Milan's going to get his eventually.
And Rando, I'll say this too. The best thing, look, I was a shooter myself when I played basketball. I was near the top of the state of Missouri my senior year. The best thing for a shooter is a paint touch point guard. Who is one of the best paint touch point guards in the country? Zoom Diallo. Who's another one who can get to the paint? Alex Wilkins. That makes the shooters better. You know what makes those guys better? Having shooters around them. If they don't want to help off, guess what? They have a step on their defenders. They're right to the rim for a layup. If the guys who are guarding the shooters want to help over, guess who's open? The shooters are wide open when you get paint touches and everybody collapses to the paint. And not to mention, you have Malachi Marino, who is a 7-foot beast down low who can finish dunks, lobs, dump offs, whatever the case may be. So to me, the biggest thing for Kentucky offense to be successful, and if they do this, they will be one of the best offenses in the country, paint touch. Zoom Diallo, Alex Wilkins getting to the paint. Once guards, especially those two, get to the paint and force pressure, force help near the rim, it's game over. There's too many decisions to be made on the defense. There's not a lot of decisions to be made on the offense. Either it's a kick out, it's a floater, it's a layup, it's a mid-range pull-up, it's a dump off, it's a lob. It's not that hard. When the defense, there's all this confusion, communication's all messed up. If the guards at Kentucky, Alex Wilkins, Zoom Diallo, get paint touches, Kentucky's offense will be damn near unstoppable all season long.
And I 100% agree with you, but I'll extend that out to it's not just our point guard paint touches. One thing that will also increase the offense efficiency is Malachi, right? Like the piece of his game last year that was like glaringly flawed was his ability to pass out of the paint, especially he was double teamed. Like he's double teamed. It's a quick look cross court to the opposite wing. Like it's open. There's literally nobody there. Or even sometimes it was directly in front of him on the same corner. And he just was singular focused on putting my head down, trying to make a tough contested layup, right? He did it at times he didn't, but he's got to be able to learn to pass out of the paint. If he can do that, it's also going to extend this offense because they're going to come down. They're going to try to double him. It's just, I don't understand it. I think I understand the game. I didn't play it at a super high level. But why we continuously help off a shooter on the same corner as where the ball is, I don't understand, but everybody does it. So like it's there. You just got to be able to, make that read, make that pass. If he can do that, yes, there's going to be times I want you to bang down low, use your size, 7'1". I want you to go put dudes on a body bag, right? But the ability to understand personnel and know, like, if I get double teamed or if someone starts cheating just a little bit, that kick out pass there, and let's finally get to a point where we're doing 30 plus threes a game, right? So I think that's a big thing. So paint touch for sure, but not just for the point guards. When you feed it to Malachi, Reese, Frank, whoever it is that's down there, be able to see the court and pass out and get an open shooter shot.
I'll say this about Malachi. He's a very good face to the basket passer when he's up there running the zoom action and the high post, whatever it is. He's a good passer with his face to the basket. The problem is he's not a good passer with his back to the basket. Nate Oates talked about that after the game. He was daring them, Kentucky, to throw it in the inside to Malachi because he said they can't pass out of the post. So I think he'll improve a lot in that area. I think experience is probably one of the big factors of that. Watching film, Coach Pope coaching him. So he's a good face to the basket passer. He needs to get better at back to the basket passer. And I think he will be for sure. And then just improving his post scoring. The number one way for him to get double teamed more, which would be a good thing for Kentucky, is to go be better down low at post scoring. And, I think he'll improve in that area too, because that's from experience, strength. He's leaned out a little bit, so he'll be a little bit faster, quick on his feet. So I don't think it's a hot take that Marino will be an all SEC player either, Juice.
Juice, I got that up. I think I would be more surprised if he wasn't first team, second team, all SEC guy. I think that's the expectation with him coming back. And, if he does that, and he does the things that he was told to work on, and the offseason workouts and the NBA scouts and the combine and whatnot, I think that would be. I would be more surprised if he wasn't, and then doing so kind of solidifies him as. I think the hot take is Malachi Marino a lottery pick at the end of the season? That would be the hot take. If you think he really explodes that much, that's the hot take. But being all SEC, I don't think that's so much a hot take. I think that's kind of expected. How many blocks you think he'll average? Juice asked. 3 a game. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I think we could get to 2. Maybe slightly over 2 would be nice. 3 a game would be 3 a game would be nice, but also I think now we're relying on him in the back end. I'm hoping our link doesn't allow just straight line drives and people to get to the rim that much. But
I'll say this: I was looking to see what he averaged last year because I didn't feel like he was a good shot blocking rim protector. I think he's a good rim protector with the size and the way that he can wall up, but he averaged 1.5 last year. I think he'll be a lot lighter on his feet, which I think will help. So I would say, I think Kentucky needs him to average about 2 a game. And I think he'll be better at blocking shots, but to be honest, I think I've always said this. I think blocking shots is great and all, but to me, it's one of the most overrated stats. Can you defend at the rim? Can you wall up without fouling? But what does blocking shots really do? For the most part, you're always blocking it out of bounds. Can you get your hand up? Can you contest the shot at the rim that they take a bad layup and then you get a rebound and you're out in transition? So I'm not worried so much about blocks. It's more to me just like good contests at the rim, walling up, hands up. You're 7'1". Be tall, be strong, be agile at the rim. Don't get in foul trouble. I'm not so worried about his block numbers, but obviously if he blocks shots in certain times, it's obviously crucial. And it's, the blocks are like dunks. They don't really do much other than they're just big momentum plays.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just going to mention that. I would be more interested in one of those advanced stats of how many contested, missed layups does he cause because someone trying to get over his length. If I want to see true improvement on the defensive side for Malachi, it's his ability to step out and guard at the perimeter, right? And not be such a liability in a pick and roll 2-man game like he was last year, i.e. Santa Clara, what was potentially a game-winning shot before Ortega saved the day, right? That's what I want to see him improve. And I don't see why. Is he as shifty and as athletic as 2014 Willie Cauley-Stein? No. But why couldn't he be a guy who could switch off on a guard and be serviceable with his length and at least recover that? Maybe get beat, but he has the ability to recover and be someone who can do that if he puts in the work. So I don't think that's outside the realm. It's asking a lot, maybe, but I think it's possible for him if he puts in that work.
And I think that's why he talked about it when he came back. It sounded odd because you're a big and you're like, I'm losing weight. And it's not like he was a big boy or anything, but he said I needed to trim some bad weight and put on some good weight. I think you saw it last year at times, and I think it hurt him late in the season because he didn't finish the year all that well, but he seemed slow. He seemed a little kind of, I hate saying it because it kind of sounds mean, but a little lazy, a little lackadaisical. And I think that was just because of his body wearing down, not proper weight, maybe being a little bit too heavy. And that's why you saw a big jump in Brandon Garrison because BG was, regardless of what you think about BG could step out and he could guard guards. I was at the Santa Clara game. I saw him have 5 blocks, and 4 of them came from switching onto a guard thinking he has an advantage. He stutter step and pulls a 3. BG athletic enough to recover, hand up, block the shot. Damn near won Kentucky the game with some of the defensive plays he made. So just getting lighter on your feet, I think helps tremendously. I think Malachi can do it. I'm not even worried about Malachi maybe guarding a guard, but maybe if he gets switched on to a 3 or even a 2, maybe a slower 2, can he just hold his own? It's not about, locking up or completely shutting them down, but can he make it tough on them? That's the biggest thing about defense and really Kentucky in general. This year more than last, it seems like in the Pope era, we've gave up so many easy baskets after easy baskets. I think with the length, with the athleticism, 1 through 5, hopefully this team just makes it tougher and more, pushback than just giving teams easy basket at times throughout the game.
Yeah. I would say not, in my personal opinion, it wasn't so much laziness. It was the word that a lot of fans hate. It was the fatigue. He did his gas tank hopefully has extended through the off season because he got on E quick, and there were times where but we don't got another serviceable center. Like, you got to be out there, just grind. And I mean, it was his freshman year. It's tough. Like, it's the longest basketball season he ever played, coming into an off season or from an off season where he's trying to learn everything. And it's probably that was probably the longest year of basketball that he's had when it comes to like truly being competitive, having to play at a super high level against, we were just talking about how big the SEC is now, big college basketball has gotten, and having to, be down there and play with dudes, like Felix Akpara or old boy from Florida, right? The big boys that he had to play with or against. But all right, so give me your expectations, realistic expectations for Braden Hawthorne. Like, when do you think we see him break out? Do we see him break out? Do you think we see flashes and then it's really big in year 3? Like, what do you think it is? And if you do think we get a breakout, what point of the season, what game do you think it happens?
I think I'll say this. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily breakout right from the jump, right? Because I think there's still some things he's got to grow on a little bit. He's got to still get, I know he's been practicing a lot, but he's going to have to go through like the game phase of adjustment. I would say we'll probably see a ton of flashes early in the season, probably very early in the season. The first couple games, I'm sure he'll have some plays, some defensive plays, offensive shots, whatever the case may be, where he, shows some real stuff. And then I would say probably expectations. I'm sure he'll be one of the first players off the bench potentially. Probably play, somewhere between like 15 to 25 minutes, depending on how he's playing, depending on the matchup, depending on the way that the game's going. Every game kind of has its own weird flavor in it. Then I would say probably by maybe late December, January, February, we start to see a really good Braden Hawthorne that can be a legitimate type basketball player. And I don't know if that would be enough for him to maybe go to the NBA after this year, or maybe he's back for, I guess, year 3 at Kentucky and year 2 as a player. But I think he has all the talent in the world. He obviously has the size, the length, the versatility, the athleticism. Really, I'm just interested to see like really what it's like, because he's been kind of this behind the scenes, kind of like hidden present that we just have in the Kentucky basketball program, and we're kind of just like, okay, let's unleash this thing and see what we really got here. But I think he's going to be a good player. I think it'll take a little bit of time, but then I think he starts getting it going around middle of the season. I think by the time we get late in the season, I think he's going to be a very impactful player for Kentucky.
So because of the things we mentioned earlier with Cam, again, I'm saying there's not a reason to worry about re-injury after the second surgery, and there's no reason to worry about like long-term effects of this thing. But I do think there is a integration process that has to happen, right? And Pope has been risk adverse in a lot of these things or Pope has been risk adverse with injuries. Mm-hmm. Kind of slow rolling them back, and this being something that got re-aggravated because we didn't do the slow, long process for Cam. I think that plays in it as well. I think by Kansas, we have a game where Braden Hawthorne is a spotlight. Is it a breakout? Like where all of a sudden he drops 30 and it goes Malik Monk against UNC and everybody. He's like, hey, guess what, boys? I'm here at Kentucky. Like, I don't know if we get that, but I think by Kansas, especially with the way Kansas is built, I think that's a game that he can succeed at. And I think by the time we get to Indiana, Cam's back healthy, but Braden has earned his role to where he's still a 20-minute guy who you can maybe lean on in that 25-minute range you were talking about because he's got it going, right?
Mhm.
I do worry that my assessment of that will be wrong and that we do have a little bit of a Nate Ament effect where he played teams early that were of the same competitiveness, right? The same talent level. And he couldn't find his spot. He was getting bullied around it. It took him some time to get it figured out. Now, I will say that Braden isn't going to be in the Nate Ament role. Like Rick Barnes was handing Nate Ament the ball all the time, especially to close games out. Because, like, hey, you're here to be the dude, right? You got to be the guy that closed it out. And it took him time to figure that out. Braden's not going to have that worry. Like in those situations, it's going to be Zoom. It's going to be Milan. It's potentially going to be Malachi. So, like, there's not going to be that much pressure on him. He still might have some issues finding his spot, but again, he's not going to be the focus, right? So the focus is going to be on everybody else. He's just going to be there, right? Hopefully by the end of the season, he's one of the key focuses because he does have this great season that I'm hoping and I expect from him. But I do think it's earlier than later that we have oh, damn. Like, there were some dudes out there who were big on Braden. There were some dudes that weren't, but the ones that were big on, like, that was our flash. Like, think about it, Kansas. He just had a 12, 50-point game, made some big shots in some big moments to win that basketball game. Like, that's enough to be the spark plug of a good season coming up.
Think
right?
about
He
it.
just carried that momentum.
I was gonna say, think about the last time we played Kansas when it was Reed Sheppard doing it against Kansas. We were all like, holy shit. Well, Reed Sheppard might actually have an impact on this team. And then you look up in December and he's getting mocked in the lottery pick. And then by the end of it, he's the 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft. Now, I'm not saying that's what Braden Hawthorne's going to do, but, Reed was kind of the similar way of, like, nobody really knows what he is. Is he really good enough for Kentucky? Is he just here because his dad and mom played here, hometown kid, whatever the case may be? And then you throw him out there against Kansas, and DJ Wagner kind of struggled in that game. Rob Dillingham came in and hit some shots, but, like, it was like a Reed Sheppard show in that game. Big shots, the steals, all these crazy passes and stuff, and it jump sparked the whole thing of Reed Sheppard. So, like what you're saying in that Kansas game, could that be Braden Hawthorne, where he just has 12 to 15 points, but he makes some big passes, gets some big stops defensively, some big rebounds, maybe a block or a steal, shows all these flashes in the world of his athleticism, versatility, length. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this kid really is good. He really can have an impact on this team. And then he's off and running.
Yeah, he just needs that one game as a springboard for the rest of the season. And, you got Kansas, you got Indiana, you got teams that are going to have talent, but also provide you a window because of his role and who he's playing against and how the teams are constructed to really have that game where he can have, not this massive breakout, but this game where he proves himself of, like, yes, I'm supposed to be here. I am a top 30 recruit. I was someone who was getting recruited by Kentucky and Duke and a lot of these big time players, these blue bloods who, Pope has been chastised for not being able to recruit against sometimes. So, like, I did come here to play for Kentucky and Pope, and this is the reason. Like, he just needs that one game to springboard him, and I think it's going to come sooner than later in the season. You mentioned Reed Sheppard, so, like, from a basketball perspective, he could be the same surprise as Reed potentially, but, like, looking at it in isolation, as far as intangibles, tangibles, how they're built. Who would you say has the more likelihood to have that? I would think it's Braden. Like,
yeah,
6'9", like he would be the one. Like Reed Sheppard, it was not built that way, and yeah, he was a lethal shooter. He proved to be serviceable on defensive end. Great basketball IQ coming from his parents, and then he had that drive because he was at Kentucky. But when you look at it, in my mind, it's Braden Hawthorne is clearly built better, like more God-given gifts to do the thing and be that guy than Reed was. So why, like you said, why can't he surprise?
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. And I think the biggest thing when you really just in general, when you talk about, obviously not the superstar freshmen, I'm not talking about the Cooper Flags or, all these guys, but those 30 to 40 freshmen, there's not a whole lot that separates them from the, 10 to 15 freshmen. And you saw it even last year with with the recruiting class and how tight that was. A lot of it really is just, can you have the game that can springboard you? Can you gain confidence? Are you in a good situation with your team? Like Braden Hawthorne might be great, but let's just go what it is. Could Pope, hurt Braden Hawthorne by the way that he's playing him or the minutes that he's giving him or the way that the rotations are and the lineups around Braden Hawthorne and those things. So everything needs to go right. But when you just look at Braden Hawthorne on paper as a basketball player and what he could be, I mean, the sky is the absolute limit for him. He's an ultra talented kid. If you make a player with the perfect makeup to be a great basketball player, it would be Braden Hawthorne because of just the size and everything that he has. So it's really just about putting it all together and hoping that it all works out very well, which I think it will.
Yeah, agree. The one big thing that held Braden back from cresting that top 20 recruit area, right? To really be, in that elite status, potentially be like McDonald's All-American, like those was scouts said in high school. He was very good when he had some pieces around him, but he wasn't great when it was just him and he had to create for himself. He struggled there. Some of that was because he was slight. Some of that was, I think, a confidence thing potentially. But that was the biggest thing that the scouting report said of like, he just at times he had flashes. We keep saying this word flashes, but consistently he couldn't just have the rock in his hand and just go create for himself. Guess what? He don't have to do that here. He's surrounded by a bunch of very good to elite talent to where, and let me caveat by saying, I've seen the practice film. He's doing very well creating for himself at the moment, but also he's not going to be relied upon to do that all the time. Like if he can do it a couple times a game, get the ball in his hand and just, hey, go do work break, boom, go do it. But ultimately it's going to be somebody helping him create and getting his open shot. You just got to knock it down, bro. You just got to knock it down.
Yeah, and there's ways to create.
I say it like it's that easy. I say it's like it's that easy. Just hit the open shot, dog.
Yeah, and there's ways to create even when you're off the ball. If Zoom Diallo's in the paint, he gets help. You dish out to Braden Hawthorne, and somebody's hard closeout, pump fake, one dribble pull up, a hard closeout, or your defender leaves you and you cut to the basket. Those are ways to create for yourself without actually creating for yourself on the ball and in isolation. So, those are all just basketball IQ things and, experience and just being around the game and really coaching as well. Like if those things are happening in practice, like Mark Pope needs to pull this out or point that out of like, hey, your guy left you back door to the basket, or, Malachi's posting up and your guy's, back's turned to you, backdoor him to the basket, those kinds of things. So there's plenty of ways to create without being the, what we would compare him of a Kevin Durant or a Paul George guy of, breaking down isolations, tween, step back threes. There's ways to create outside of that. But like you said, Braden has all the tools to be a successful basketball player. And, I think he'll do that this year at Kentucky.
Yeah, man, I agree. We'll go ahead and we'll wrap this thing up. Like we started, TBT final on Sunday. We'll find out who we're playing tomorrow. But Sunday at 1 in Memorial, Kentucky fans, you ain't got nothing better to do. I can't imagine. I mean, let's sell out that spot. Tickets are going to be $50-ish a piece at most at this point. Hell, I think you could get in the door for tonight's game like $15 they were advertising. So get there. If you got to skip church, do whatever you got to do. The good Lord will understand on this Sunday. It is La Familia, family, and then church. And then you can get back to the right sequence of events for how that should go next Sunday. But fill out Memorial, get the Cats to a TBT title, send off dudes like Willie the right way. finally getting a championship. Doesn't care. I don't care where it's coming from. Sit him off with a chip so he can be in Lexington as the guy who, in his final run won, $2 million for La Familia. And TBT, not for nothing, if La Familia wins this thing, you think you're on a glide slope up right now. Chris Paul, you think TBT is going well now. La Familia wins this thing and you get BBN behind you. Good grief. It'll be a $5 million prize pot next year.
And think of the dudes that'll be coming next year to run it back and to go get another one. So they need to win this. There's a huge domino effect that can happen. Let's go get $2 million here this year, and then let's start the dynasty. Why not? Let's go win 10 in a row. LeBron said it. I'm not here for 2. I'm not here for 3. Whatever he said, when he Willie Cauley-Stein to say that while on his way out of the door with his retirement. But let's go win 10 in a row or something.
Why not? Real quick though, we got one more coaching spot available, right?
Hey, you made a tweet about it.
John Hood might be that guy.
Yeah,
he's got the defense humming. Hey, you might need to just go and put him on the staff. Who says no? This might be the job application he's putting out there for him. I would say let's bring him back next year, unless he's out there coaching for Kentucky men's basketball, the real deal. So yeah, Mark Pope, go ahead and put that out there. I can't imagine he's super expensive. Just get him out there, get him on the squad.
Hey, you see it a lot. A lot of NBA coaches, they coach in summer league, a couple of times and they do great. And then NBA organizations potentially promote them or they get higher assistant jobs. Isn't that kind of what John Hood's doing? He's doing a great job coaching La Familia. There's an open seat on the bench. Why not throw him a little cash? I don't know what he does for his full-time job, but I'm sure being an assistant coach is a lot better than that. So what a way to get into the coaching business. Might not be a bad shout. He might be able to. We don't know. He might be able to recruit too.
Maybe. Could you imagine old Johnny Hood goes from TBT title to NCAA champion the same year?
What a storyline.
Just put it. He'll be the next jersey in the rafters. Just
100%.
Skip AD, John Wall. John Hood's the next one.
Move them all over. We got a new sheriff in town up top.
Oh, that's right. All right, Drew. I appreciate you, man. We'll be back at this thing on Saturday for the Heavy Pour Sports Happy Hour show. We got some cool things cooking up. We got some friends at 127 The Game, Coach Evan. So trying to finish the last few pieces for our Saturday show, potentially on there. Maybe a gambling show with Hammer and I. So some big things working as we quickly approach football season, which we are excited about. But before that, again, let's go win on Sunday, and we will see you back here Saturday to preview that TBT game, as we'll know who we're going to play. I'm going to put it on Drew to be Coach Drew and break down who we're playing. Give us our keys to success.
When? Right now?
No.
Oh, you're talking about Saturday? Oh, easily. Yeah. I'm gonna break it all down. Watch the game tomorrow. I'll do some research. We'll do the fame, or I guess the fan game planning on Saturday night happy hour show. We'll get ready for Sunday, and we might not make the money. The players might get it, but championships are championships when you're a fan, and they all feel really good. So let's go win one on Sunday.
We win on Sunday. There will be some TBT La Familia Championship merch on this wall for sure. I will celebrate it like it's the real thing. For sure.
Definitely.
All right, Drew. I appreciate you as always. Go Cats. We'll see you Saturday.
Go Big Blue. See you Saturday.
Peace.
On a whole nother level. Let's get it. Run it up. Check the scope. Money talk. Money mo. Yeah. Make who say they weed it. Kicking down the door, run it up, check the scope, money talk, money mo. What? Main crew say they with it, kicking down the door. Let's go. And it's the whole lane when I'm driving the machine.